Good evening, good evening. This is episode 7, season finale of the After Repair Value. It's special, this last episode is special in a lot of different ways. This is my first episode where I have my family, my big bro, my mentor, Tommy Hunter James here with me today. I'm glad he was able to make time for me. He always make time for me, but for us to actually be on a podcast doing this, it was an idea that I told him about a while ago, and he fully supported it along with a lot of other ideas that I did. And I'm just grateful and honored to be here, especially in this case to be in his own backyard doing this. This is my first episode where it's not inside or it's not the studio, so we actually out in the world with it. So I'm excited about it. And just for those who are just tuning in with this podcast that I'm doing, the After Repair Value, it really just came from just me going through life experiences, going through my journey, being in the real estate industry, starting from incarceration, making it at one time it was just a dream of mine, and just all the struggles along the way, being able to network, being able to close a deal. We always hear a lot of times in the real estate industry, or just in professional industries in general, the deal itself, or what happens, or how to get the right product, but we don't really hear too much about the personal struggles that we go through, because we all have them. So I really wanted to touch base more on that mental health side and just the origins of what we go through in our industries on a day-to-day struggle sometimes. So it's an honor again here to have Tommy here. I really can't give him the best introduction. I can just say, he's done a lot for me. Master networker, life insurance agent, just a community activist in general. So Tommy, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was
so
good, man.
You try, man.
Good at this. No, that's great, man. Appreciate the intro. As Alan said, we are a family, and I'm extremely proud of what you've accomplished in a short period of time, man. To be able to take a lemon and make lemonade out of it, and then Arnold Palmer's, and then spiked drinks, and all the other stuff that you've been doing with your energy and creativity. So I'm proud to be here, to be able to be a part of this. And again, yeah, I'm Tommy. So I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a family member, I'm a friend, and I try to look at myself as a resource to my fellow man, right? We can't do anything without each other. So I'm just here to be a student of the game of life and get in what I fit in. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. Good. That's good. So I got some questions, man. We're gonna get right into it, man.
Let's get into it.
Again, for those who haven't watched it or have seen it, we're gonna break this down mainly into 3 parts. So the After Repair Value, we're correlating it to actually when you're in the real estate industry and you're going through the process of renovating a house. First thing, part 1, is finding that fixer-upper. So the first part of what we're going to talk about today is that side of Tommy, that fixer-upper side, those rough patches that he had to go through to get to where he's at. Just like when you have a house that's a fixer-upper, so that's part 1, the fixer-upper part of the After Repair Value of our show. We're going to correlate it to his own personal life. The second part we're going to talk about is the renovation period. What sacrifices did he have to make? What people along the way helped him build up and repair to get to where he's at today. So we're going to talk about the renovation period that he had to go through mentally or physically to be able to get to where he's at. And then part 3, just like a house, is the finished product. And in this case, in most cases, a finished product is always still ongoing. There's always more that you can add. Like, you might have a house that's already done, but you might add a deck or you might add a pool. So where's Tommy at today with his After Repair Value from where he was on the fixer-upper side? So those are the 3 parts that we're going to talk about, and through this there will be gems and insights that will be given to help individuals that's watching this that may be going through their own journey of wanting to get their life insurance license or get their title license or get in the real estate industry. So we're going to start with part 1. So the first question I got for you, Tommy, in your fixer-upper stage, before life insurance, or before what you've done so much, especially in this Atlanta area, where were you? What were some rough parts of your life that helped build you up in your fixer-upper stage?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's a deep question, especially for somebody who's a half a century old.
Yeah.
And so I have to dig into it. But I will tell you this: For all you people that have attention deficit disorder, like me sometimes, I'm going to tell you what it is up front, and then we can break it down. You know, in all you're getting, get understanding, right? And when you think about a purchase, when you think about where you are in your life and your career paths and how to fix yourself, and all you're getting, get understanding, which means it takes some research, right? Before you even walk up to a property, you want to know about the zip code. You want to know about demographics. You want to know about what it is that's going to potentially bring value outside of that house. And so when you think about that as a person, you know, I'm from Southeast DC, and you know, we grew up in the Anacostia area, and when you grow up in an area like that, you're told, you know, I was told by a teacher that I had no value. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being in first grade and having, I'm 51 now, having the memory of my first grade teacher telling me that the majority of us in that classroom was going to be dead or in jail before we hit 18. That was in the first lesson, and I know she used the mindset of tough love to be able to get us to the end of the rainbow. But for me, I actually saw somebody get killed, right? You see people get killed in Southeast DC, where it was called murder capital of the world, all the time. And so there was no connectivity of getting out of that situation when you see it every day. And so that was the beginning of my time. And so day one, you're learning how to survive on the streets at home. You're learning how to see if you can have sustenance meals, nutrients, and you're going to school where you're supposed to be able to learn how to get out of that environment. And the first thing the proctor or the teacher tell you is that you ain't going to be nothing, the majority of you guys. You're going to get caught up. So what is a boy to do?
Especially at 6.
What is a boy to do?
You know, nowadays, you know, a teacher say that nowadays they're going to lose their job. But back then it was like, you get away with that, you know, so.
Well, and I'll tell you, so, because in D.C., all the teachers, all the police officers, majority of the doctors, everybody you see, the convenience store, minus the Asians, everybody look like somebody in your family. And so when somebody in that power and authority tell you that you're going to be nothing, you almost believe it. It's hard to not believe.
That's all you see.
Right. Right? Because what you going to do when you get on your mom's nerve, your aunt nerve? They tell you go sit down on that couch. Sit down on that couch before you get in trouble. Or you're just like your father. Or you're just like the guy down the street. You're going to be, you know, these things. And so they start to become a part of your being. And so it's unfortunate, but there's a silver lining to that, because you're going to need that grit later in life, and I embrace it today.
Okay. So in regards to staying on that same fixed or upper stage, when you first got your life insurance license, when you first got in the industry, like, what are some obstacles that you had to face during that period? So you gave us the personal side. So on the business side, what were some obstacles that you had to go through in that sense?
Well, so, you know, as you know, I was adopted at the age of 13, well, 12 or 13 years old by the time I was officially adopted. And that was the time that my family realized I could not read or write very well. I was always a smart kid, but I never had the fundamentals to continue to excel in school. However, having that amazing change in my life and moving from DC to Baltimore, when I was in a new environment, a new situation, I was given a new platform to be able to readjust, right? And this is where I mean by understanding. This is where I mean about mindset change and being able to look within and accept where you are today, but understand that ain't where you got to stay. So when I got adopted, you wanted to do everything for your parents because they did something great for you. And then my father told me, hey man, you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I was like, I can't even read. I'll be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. He never had kids before. He just impressed upon this great authority of, I'm your daddy now, and this is what you're going to be. You're going to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I was like, this guy's got to be out of his mind. So I remember one day I broke the television. I dropped the television to a little 13-inch black and white TV, and I broke it. And I was very terrified of being in trouble with my dad coming home finding out that TV was broken. And so I did everything I could to put that television back together.
Dang.
And then my dad came home, and he noticed that the TV had duct tape on it. And I was like, oh, he got me.
Right away.
He got me, man. I'm in trouble. And he looked at me and smiled and said, you're going to be an engineer. I was like, I'm just trying not to get in trouble. Nah, you're going to be an engineer. You put that TV back together yourself? I was like, yeah, I started feeling myself, yeah. I did that. And so that was the first real.
Did it still work though?
It did work, and that was the first real sense from a black male figure that I was somebody different than not just wanting to be in trouble, not wanting to be in jail, not wanting to be dead, not wanting to get in trouble for the things that my actions.
So the morale of it.
It was the first time in my life that a male said you can be something. 13. And so with that little inspiration was the catalyst to help me start my journey on being where I am today. That was the catalyst. Okay. Right? Because then I understood at that very moment the role of a dad, because I never really had one. My dad was absent. I understood of having space for yourself to create solutions and think about a solution. I had the wherewithal to be able to say, I can do this if I put my mind to it. It was the first 13 years of living. It was the first realization that if I put my mind to something, I can actually accomplish it.
Got it. So that gave you like that spark.
It was the first catalyst and belief in myself.
So when you had that spark going forward in regards to now being, boom, now you got this license, you educated, you got the license. What were the obstacles? How did you take that catalyst and energy to be able to maybe even close your first deal? Like, what was your biggest challenge being in the industry?
Well, I'll tell you how I became an insurance guy is, when I graduated college, I was a software engineer. I became an engineer.
So you become
I literally became a software engineer. I was good at math and all of this, and I worked for this company called Altel. Okay. And it's literally where I met my wife. And so she was my boss's executive assistant. And I spent almost 3 years there doing program analyst type stuff, coding, and all the things I never thought. Just think about this, man. I'm literally in my early 20s, and when I was 10 years early, I couldn't even read. And now I'm writing code.
Dang.
And so, but something crazy happened, right? I went to a HBCU, historically black college, and one thing they taught us was an extension of what my father was teaching me, is that I can be anything I wanted to be, and I should get paid for my efforts. And my boss, it came raise time, he was very subjective. He said, I gave you a smaller raise, and this guy over here a bigger raise because he had a family and you don't. And I knew enough of myself to know that my work life and my home life should be totally separate. And I should not be getting subjective raises. And although I wanted to have this career path, I knew I wasn't going to subject my family that I didn't even know yet, my kids I didn't even know yet, my wife I didn't even know yet, my aspirations I don't even realize yet. I knew I wasn't going to subject and gamble my future to somebody with a subjective mindset on what I deserve in life.
Gotcha.
And so I quit that job. You know how I quit? I took a corporate American Express card and I went to K&G men's store and I bought me 3 suits. And I knew I was going to get in trouble for buying the suits on a corporate card, so I quit. And I moved back to Atlanta, and my first job.
What was the reason for getting 3 suits though?
Because I knew I was going to be interviewing for a sales job.
Oh, okay.
You know why a sales job? Why a sales job? Is because I knew I was going to have subjective raises. I was going to get paid off my effort and not off what somebody think I should have.
Because it was kind of like the balance of the two worlds. It was the balance of the teacher back in the day that said you wasn't going to be nothing. That probably sparked something compared to what, Uncle Freddie, rest in peace, said to you, giving you that positive affirmation. So you had the positive affirmation, and then when you heard that negative affirmation from your manager, something must have hit you. Boom. Or maybe even that childhood part of you kind of kicked in and was like, nope, I ain't going for that.
Yeah, man. I used to get in trouble for, you're exactly right. I used to get in trouble for saying I don't deserve that or maybe next time. At my family, it was either if you're going to choose to participate in something, you got to go all the way with it. You got to be number one. And so I've always had that spirit. And this is a guy who was afraid of public speaking. And so imagine getting hired at a job and there are 15 sales reps and you're rep number 15.
You're the new guy.
You're the new guy. And they said you had a list of prospects to call on, and they said go to the other 14 guys, and whatever they don't want in their list is your list.
Oh, you getting all the shit.
So I had the cream, what I call the cream of the crap.
Yeah, you got the shit.
I had the shit list, literally.
I remember that.
And then that year I became Rookie of the Year.
Dang.
Kind of like what you did, right?
Yeah.
I became Rookie of the Year with that shitty list.
That's how I got it. And I sold all the houses that nobody else wanted to sell.
Hey man, and so I was the only African American sales rep in my company, right? And it was because most of the time they put African Americans in service type roles. They didn't put us in customer facing roles. But that was enough power. And back then you could either wear a blue shirt or a white dress shirt. There was no lavender. There was no other shades of anything.
Okay.
You either had it was stick to the script. Man, I got Rookie of the Year. I started coming in there with my pink shirts on, all the stuff that's cool now.
Oh yeah, Rookie of the Year make you do that.
I was like, man, because my boss became my goals. My boss became my numbers. Not a subjective person sitting in the office saying, Tommy deserved this. My boss became what my numbers were, and I realized that corporations cared about the numbers more than they care about the people. Other than that, I was just a little letter on the keyboard. I was the letter T, a widget that can easily be popped out and replaced the next day. So no matter who I work for, I always consider myself my own guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So you got to. So when you compare that to a home, you got to almost see the finished product in your mind.
Yeah.
That's what makes that home yours.
That. And then if you're fixing an investment property, you got to know your numbers from the beginning. The house is bought. The house is sold once you buy it. So whatever that number is that you buy it at is the most important number a lot of the time. So
yeah.
You know, I love that.
Yeah, we're going a little deep with that.
We definitely. I mean, that's the whole point, right? So, all right. So going into the second part. The second part, what we talked about is the renovation period. What sacrifices along the way did you have to go through? We know you got Rookie of the Year now, so now you're at this point. You know, even just from that side or from a personal side at this point, what sacrifices or what mentors did you have that helped build you up? What kept that momentum going for you after you got a little bit of success now? What was it?
Well, I started running into stumbles, right? I started wanting bigger for myself, and I started wanting what I call white boy money. And I started running into brick walls. And then I read a book by a guy in Texas, and it was called, if I recall correctly, it was called The Wedge.
The Wedge.
And he came at a sales conference, and he was one of those public speakers, rah-rah, get us all hyped up for our sales year. And he said, you know, he wrote this book called The Wedge, and basically it's finding that unique thing in your life to be able to separate you from your competitors, separate you from the competition so that you can win. Kind of like a wedge on a splitter that you split wood with. You draw that wedge and you should be able to split it up and win. And so I had a problem running into, at this time I was in North Carolina.
Okay.
And South Carolina and North Carolina was my territory. And I would run into really just racist prospects, people that was supposed to help me close business. And I literally had a guy walk me out of his office because I was black. I closed deals with him on the phone, but when it came time to meet him face to face, he literally said because of the color of my skin, I would have 12 seconds to get out of his office.
Hey.
And you see guns on the wall. This is in an office. And I said, I called the guy in Texas. I said, hey man, I got this book on my desk here called The Wedge. I just started reading a lot at this point. And how does a guy in this situation where I'm dealing with racist prospects, this is the bowl I have to fish in. And he said to me, guess what? He said, none of the other white guys in your office can be black. And even if your prospect's never seen a black person before, you want to be the absolute best example of a black male they ever met in their entire life. Use that as your competitive advantage because none of your other competitors can do that. You know what it immediately makes you do? It has to make you immediately love being black.
Immediately.
It made you immediately love being a male.
Accountability.
It made you love being
a
big guy.
Yeah.
It make you love being somebody that I don't have to hang out with y'all all night long to be successful. I don't have to be doing all this crazy stuff, doing coke lines and all that stuff to be successful. I can be the perfect person I am right now because you ain't me. And that person I fell in love with became the wedge that carried me to this point.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get The Wedge. It's probably an elementary book now, but then it was the Bible.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Now, what about from a personal side? Like, that's the business side. Like, do you have any personal issues that you had that was going on?
Well, here's the thing. My daughter was born in 2005, and we had trouble having her. We did in vitro, all these different things, fertilization to have her. Had a couple miscarriages, and so when she got here, I remember holding her up, and I still have this picture to this day, and I was saying, you didn't ask to be here. And I remember my upbringing. I didn't ask to be here. And I told myself, you're not responsible for what you inherit in life, but you are responsible for your legacy. Right? You're not responsible for how you got here, but you are responsible for how you leave this place. And I remember holding her up and saying, yo, I'm going to be the best father I ever can be for best provider, best protector, and best stabilizer that you've ever seen, because you didn't ask to be here. But I'm going to help you with some principles. And you know what that did? That motivated me to be the best at what I do. That having a child, you would think having a wife, you would think I already had stepchildren, I was already motivated. But when I saw an infant that I created, and know that you have, think about it, you know that you have a minimum of 18 years responsibility, you began to say, I'm going to be a person who make excuses and blame baby mama and all this kind of stuff, get a divorce and blame my wife for being a horrible mom, or I'm going to say, no matter what happens, I'm going to take full accountability for any situation that comes before my child. That automatically gives you the unction to be able to get out of bed when you're tired. Even if you party all night, when the bell ring at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're in the office.
Yeah, cause you one thing I can say about you, man, it don't matter how late you may be out, you be the first one up. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what you have inside of you to get you up like that, but you do that.
Amen.
Without a question.
To this day. I mean, today was one of those days. I went to the office with a migraine, but you know what? We got it done. And but you know what? But I also see people like you, right? What you don't see, and I think what a lot of men don't understand is who's looking at you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily from a negative standpoint like haters, but who's looking at you from a positive standpoint, and who's just sitting on the sideline going, dang, how lucky he's going to continue to be. Well, it's not luck, it's faith.
Right.
And the other part is grace, right? I don't ever say I'm not supposed to be here, because if you believe that, and if you're like me, I'm a Christian, then you don't believe in grace. So grace really means you have something you don't deserve.
That's exactly what it means.
And faith means, okay, now that you know that, what you going to do about it? Yeah. So now I don't have to be educated in the topic. All I have to do is move towards that direction, do my research, right?
Got to do the research.
Change my mindset. Yeah. So, and all you're get understanding. Does it make sense?
I love it.
Am I connecting the dots though?
You're connecting the dots, man. It's dope right here, man.
Hey, man.
And it's crazy because we talk every day.
We
talk every day, but I'm always learning something every day.
You have no idea what I learned from you.
Man, I soaks it in, man, because that's so important when it comes to growth, man. Being able to just take time out to listen. You know, a lot of times, especially when we get talkers like we are, we like to talk and negotiate and get to the point with our words. But it's a power when you just take a step back and you just listen. You know, so it's a power.
Well, this is for your audience. I would tell the old school guys, triple OGs, the unks, whatever y'all call yourselves out there. You have not arrived, man. This is a journey. As long as you got breath in your body, your work is not being done. And I've learned a long time ago that your chapters aren't finished being written. Right? This is just chapter, I don't care, 51. Yeah. Until God tell me my chapters are done, I'm supposed to wake up every day. So how do I continue to have that energy when my body's getting tired and older? Right? So what we have is wisdom, generally speaking. Because some of you Negroes don't have no wisdom at your age, but you should. What Alan has is tenacity, know-how, knowledge, and the will to just say, I haven't arrived yet. He has the energy to put on the gas, which motivates the person like me. And so when you have a person that has that energy, and you have a person that has supposed wisdom, you put that together, that's enough to keep each other going. Beyond the stratosphere. Right now you're in a whole other universe of getting stuff done. And that's what this is to me. That's what this is all about. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, because now we're letting the world see it. We're letting others see it. It's no longer, we always talk about it.
I would have been sitting here without you. Yeah. I would not be sitting here. I'd be smoking a cigar.
1:30, boom,
looking at these
2
trees.
o'clock, boom, where you at? Boom, we on the way, boom.
Right.
You know, we went through a lot to get here. This was going to be at one time. We was going to do this at the studio. Then something happened, and then I couldn't do it there. And then last night, I'm trying to find a last-minute person to get here in time. I'm like, you know what? You know, like we gotta just doing to get backyard. You mentioned it before, doing to get backyard too. So it all just worked out, man. You know. So.
But it's the information that's power, and what you're bringing to your audience is cool, man. Like I love how you're connecting the dots. And you know, here's the thing, man. I don't want to over or just understate what I'm saying about the word grace. Like grace is saying that I'm going to get this done, whether I believe I'm qualified or not. Because I'm going to put myself in the rooms with the right people. right? Networking trumps degrees.
All the time.
Relationships trumps PhD.
Yeah.
Right? You get a little bit of relationship, you get a little bit of credit, you get a little bit of a little know-how, a little network. I'll put that up against anybody from Harvard. I got people from Harvard working for me today. I went to Little Clark, Atlanta down the street.
Hey.
I got people from Stanford and Harvard on my team. Sometimes smarter than me, but I'm the team leader. And why? Because I saw myself that way. Right? You use your past as fuel. I hear you when you talk that the passion comes out. Anybody that knows this guy hears the passion. But guess what? That passion comes from the foot on the neck piece. Right? And then once you get a breath of fresh air and that foot come off your neck, you're not letting nobody put that foot on your neck no more.
Not again.
And it's never going to happen. That's what we're talking about.
Wow. So here we are. We're going into the third piece, the final piece, and it is the ARV portion of it. It is the final product. And the final product, is always going to be ongoing as long as you're alive. But where we got to, the success that we did reach today, where Tommy is today, if you have to give gems to that person that may have gone through maybe getting in the career, might have worry about the struggles of, having a child or starting a new, marriage or relationship and trying to have that work-life balance. Like, what advice would you give for somebody to be able to reach success in the career that you're in?
So, at this point in your life, you know what to do, right? Yeah. I feel like if you're 30, 35 years old, you know what to do. I'm 51. So if I say I don't know what to do, I'm making excuses. At this point, and my number one goal is to minimize distractions.
Okay.
Right?
Minimize distractions.
Right, because the greatest trick that the devil ever made is to make people think he don't exist.
Yeah, you always told me that too.
Right? And so when we start feeling ourselves, we start to get away from that got us here. And so sometimes we got to sit back, reset, and understand, am I attached to the right people? We got to do an assessment, just like you would on taxes on a house, or appraisal on a car. Yeah. You have to do a self-appraisal every so often to say, you know what? My girl's supposed to tell me I'm the shit. My kid's supposed to feel like I'm Superman. What do I think about myself? And am I being honest with myself? And do I have any distractions in here that I can minimize or change a little bit? Ain't nobody telling you be priest, but what I am telling you to do is if something is dragging you, a weight that you're dragging across the land, understand that it's either going to grow some muscle to keep dragging it. Like some people are habitual offenders of things that have vices and they're still successful, but they're dragging it, right? They might be shortening their lifespan. They might be messing up their heart. They might be losing a marriage. They might be losing a relationship with their kids. They're still successful, right? But they're not what I call blessed, right? Blessed means you're successful in all areas of your life, not just one. Right. So money ain't no fun if you ain't got nobody to share it with. And so for me, the distractions for me is the big thing. And I will tell you this, I have something that measures me to stay there, because I remember when I was thinking about being in the streets versus get my degree and keep it going. Mm-hmm. I prayed to God. I said, if you're real, then that means my life sucks right now because of me. This is before I even had my first job out of college. And I was about to make a decision to go way left. Right. And then God inspired me. He was like, yo, to get $1 million house, you don't have to have $1 million in the bank. See, that's what the drug dealer think. I gotta go get this mill so I can get this house. Right. I gotta get this $100,000 so I can get this Benz. No, you just gotta be able to afford the note. So that means you gotta learn how to budget. That means you gotta learn how to save. So you start breaking it down. But when you do those credit and your resources, so you start to break down. You only learn that in a self-appraisal. So get by yourself sometimes and do a reset. And I think that's the number one thing somebody can do to sustain the success in their life and be self-accountable. It shouldn't be me going, hey man, I gotta talk to you about what you did yesterday. That's cool every once in a while. That's cool when you're going off the ledge. But at some point in time, you gotta monitor your own maintenance. Right? You can feel that car. I like that. You can feel that car leaning to the right. Yeah, I need an alignment. Yeah. You can smell that oil in the tailpipe. Damn, I need some antifreeze or some oil.
Right.
You can see that raggedy wiper when it's raining.
That's self-assessment of yourself.
You're by yourself when that's happening in your car.
Yeah.
Why can't you do that with your own life? This is the vehicle of life.
Wow. Well, look. I don't even know how to put words into coming up with a conclusion with this. But, you know, it's a lot of gems that got shared here.
Yes,
I'm grateful for everybody that followed this or even watching this for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, a big thing that I got that time he said, and we talk all the time, but one thing that he really said that I liked was minimizing distractions. That really stood out to me because, you know, you can get lost in your distractions quick. So being able to minimize your distractions is something that I definitely, it's hitting hard when you say that. And then just being honest with yourself. You know, that's the second one. Being honest with yourself. You can lie. You can lie to the world. You can lie on Instagram. You can put the filters up and the music up and all the gifts. But when you by yourself, man, you can't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so that being honest with yourself, that was another one that hit hard. You know, and just that self-assessment of yourself. You know, I used the car example. I thought that was just amazing. You know, like even earlier today when we was coming out, we seen the march from the kids near the door. You know, just being able to see things like, okay, I got to clean this up. You know, so just being able to know what you need to clean up about yourself and not always have to rely on a mentor or rely on, you know, a family member or loved one when you know you can do it yourself sometimes. It's not a matter of always reaching out for any little thing. Sometimes you got to just dig in yourself and do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's not just go looking in a book or going on TikTok for the tips. Sometimes we just know what we need to do, and you just got to do it.
That's right.
You know, so that's just a recap of what I got from what Tommy said. And if you got one last quotes, anything you want to leave off with, you know, that's...
Again, all you're getting good understanding. Do your research. And if we had to sum this up and underscore this in one word, it's humility. Really.
Humility.
Yeah, they got it.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, look, man, thank y'all for tuning in. You know, like I said, episode 7. Our first season is now complete. Tommy, thanks for finishing it off for me, man.
Great, man. And time went by so fast.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. So
that's good, man.
Thank y'all. We out.